Hello and welcome back to our U.S. History series on Cerebri learning. This week we'll be covering the Civil War Part 1, mainly what caused it and early events in it. It's the mid-1800s and slavery is a hot-button issue to Americans. Most of the more developed and manufacturing-based North were opposed to slavery, but keep in mind it wasn't for moral reasons most of the time. Many wanted abolishment of the practice because it made it harder to sell their products. However, some also saw the practice as barbaric, and many freedmen, such as Frederick Douglass, were strongly opposed to slavery and wrote about it often. In the South, though, it was mostly kept in place for economic reasons justified by racist doctrines. While America was expanding westward, new states were obviously made. These had to choose between being free or slave states. Each side thought that if the other side had a majority of states, they could outvote them on issues relating to slavery. In 1820, the Missouri Compromise was established, drawing a line between North and South and made new states above that line free, and states below it slave states. However, in 1850, a new compromise was drafted. It made California a free state, but it strengthened the Fugitive Slave Act and deregulated slavery in the rest of the Mexican Cession. At the same time, the public became more divided. Books like Uncle Tom's Cabin outraged people at the inhumane conditions black Americans had to deal with, and events like the Nat Turner Rebellion made white Southerners paranoid of slave uprisings. Another important event was the Dred Scott case, where the Supreme Court ruled that slaves were property. This upset many abolitionists. Violence began to become more common. Heavy fighting broke out between pro- and anti-slavery settlers in an event known as Bleeding Kansas. In 1850, abolitionist John Brown planned a weapons raid on Harpers Ferry, Virginia, and he wanted to start a rebellion. He was eventually captured and hung, but his words resonated with many. All of this made white Southerners very nervous, and the final event for them was the election of the staunchly anti-slavery Abraham Lincoln. Although he tried to pacify them, and he even promised not to abolish it at first, Southern states seceded and formed the Confederacy. The event that's widely considered to be the first battle of the war was the Confederate attack on Fort Sumner in South Carolina. Later that year, a battle took place known as the First Battle of Bull Run. This was a pretty big defeat for the U.S. forces, known as the Union. Later that year saw the battles of Santa Rosa Island and Port Royal Sound. 1862 saw one of the bloodiest battles of the war for both sides, the Battle of Shiloh. However, this was considered a Union victory, and it allowed the Union troops to move into Tennessee. It also saw the Second Battle of Bull Run, which was a defeat for Union forces, but less so than the first. Another important battle was the Battle of Antietam, a decisive Union victory that halted the Confederate advance into Maryland. The fighting was largely divided into 5 theaters: the Eastern Theater, the Western Theater, the Trans-Mississippi Theater, the Gulf Coast Theater, and the Sioux Uprising. Each of these played a crucial role in the strategies of both sides. So who was affected by the fighting? Well, everyone to a certain degree. Obviously, soldiers from both sides who often had to fight people they knew. Freedmen especially, who were allowed to fight, saw it as a struggle to overthrow an unjust system. Another group that was badly affected were the Native American tribes mostly living in Oklahoma, who tried to get their land back during the war. Some fought with the Union, however most fought for the Confederates, and the ones that did often had even more taken away. Then, of course, there were the slaves who had been oppressed for years, and many assisted Union troops who were passing through. Make sure to tune into our next video, which is coming out next week. It'll be a part 2 to this. We here at Cerebri Learning would like to thank you for watching this video, and if you like this, please check out some of our other content, like our physics series. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and also be on the lookout for future series. Our full bibliography will be in the description below, and we've also included some useful sources for those of you who would like to learn more.